Okay, sorry about that. This is real life here. So I'm back. This is the trifold. So you could even have your younger ones do a travel brochure. You know, what was appealing about going to the West, our uncharted land. And so maybe they talk about the terrain and the expectations and things like that. Something very inviting and use very persuasive writing for the brochure. I think I covered. I'm sorry, we had a doorbell ring. But for my oldest, he's going to talk about the philosophies. So in this, he's going to talk about philosophies of African Americans, post-Civil War African American leaders, like Belinda has here. And so we'll do one on Booker T and W.E.B. Du Bois and then Marcus Garvey. And maybe he's an illustrator, so maybe I'll have him draw a little picture. He may cut it out and glue it, but he'll really talk about their philosophies here, and we'll stick that in there. Okay, so this has multiple purposes. I wouldn't have my younger ones do philosophies, but I would definitely have, and I mean younger in terms of like my 5 and my Alex, I probably wouldn't have him do that. I'd probably have him create a brochure, a little persuasive piece and some really interesting points where he'd have to do a little bit of research to find out what was it like prior to growth and development. Okay, so that's another fold. And again, I'm still on page 1. I haven't even gotten to the rest of the book. And so I'll probably end up doing a couple of lap books out of just this one curriculum, Belinda's book here. And I did compare and contrast. Okay, and then still in this lesson, we read some more here. And then the last couple folds we're going to do, she asked us to think, you know, why do you think Washington taught trades? And this is George Washington Carver, after we would have read some stuff and all that. Taught trades rather than Latin or Greek at Tuskegee. So I have here, find Tuskegee on a map. So I would have them do a map, and I'm going to show you how to do an extension in the lap book. So I would just print out a map. We would just locate where it is on the map, maybe color it in, some other things on the map. So I would do that. And then why do you think the black newspapers were so important to the black community after the Civil War? I would have them create a newspaper, a black newspaper, and even research what were some of the black newspapers, what were some of what were some of the things that you found? How do they differ from our newspapers today? And so actually creating that and including that. And again, this is all just from the first lesson, and then the next one is the next lesson, which is moving into the early 1900s and World War I. So we have a lot of information here that we're going to digest just from chapter 1 of this lesson, which is going to be so exciting. And we're just going to take our time. There's no rush. And so that's the first thing we're going to do. Then after we've talked about it, let's say we're finished our whole unit or however much we want to do, we're going to take all of our folds. And let me see, I've got a couple extra folds here. We're going to then take all of our folds, and I just keep like all kinds of extra folds whenever I do a talk on lap books. And we're going to assemble them. Now this is where you begin to assemble the folds. Now again, what's going to happen at the end of the day, or you know, it's time to move on to the next subject, I gather all of my kids' folds, and this is where I want to store them in the big bag. I don't let them keep them, I don't let them play with them, I don't let them handle them, and we definitely don't assemble at this point. It's not until we're finished with our unit or we're at a good point, good stopping point, where we say, this is a good point to kind of build our lap book. You know, we have enough information. And you can always extend the book, and I'll show a little bit of extension on another video. So now we're ready to gather all our folds and assemble. And it's really fun because you just lay it all out, and it helps them to think visually, and it helps them to organize their information. And they don't, no two lap books may necessarily look the same. They don't have to. Some of the younger ones, you want to kind of guide their thinking and say, oh, this shape, this space looks really good here. What works really well here? So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to grab your file folder, just a plain old file folder, nothing fancy. And I didn't want to fold this one. So you have your plain old folder, and you're going to open it up, and then you're going to fold one side in and the other side in, okay? And we did that on Saturday. And this is where we're going to put all of our folds inside of the book. I always like that. To me, this flap just always works well for vocab. So I always like to glue that here. But before you glue, make sure you just lay everything out. So we're just going to lay all this out. So we have all of our vocabulary words here on Westward Expansion. I may put them there. Then we have here, let's just pretend, we're all done. And now we have here our Native Americans, our compare and contrast Native Americans and African Americans. This might work really well in here. And you can always, turn things different ways. I'm just going to stick this right in the middle. Okay. And then, what are some other things? Oh, let's say we did do our trifold on the philosophy. So we have Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Booker T. Washington. Here, I may want to put this on this other flap. And then we probably have maybe just a nice small map of the state of Alabama. Yes, that's where Tuskegee is, right? Alabama. And maybe we'll put that right there. And, this is just very basic. Again, I'm just showing you very, very basic. And then once we lay it out and we figure, oh, yeah, I really like this. Or, you kind of play with it a bit. Because you can even stick something out like this and kind of fold it over this way and close it up. So you don't have to stick with it this way. So once we have it all laid out, and I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to, just to show you. I should have printed out a map, right? So, of course, you would use glue. I recommend a lot of it. Two-sided tape. And again, the reason is you want them to handle these. You want to, some lap books, and I explained this on Saturday, some lap books I keep for myself. They're just for me in my old age, to kind of look back and see what the kids have done. But most of them we keep out. You want them out in a basket or on a shelf or wherever you keep your books because you want them to handle them. You want them to pick them up. You want them to read it. My kids don't get excited about reading textbooks and worksheets. I've never seen them pick up an old workbook or textbook and say, oh, I remember this textbook. It was so fun. No, but they will pick up a lap book and they will say, oh, I remember when we did this and I remember we talked about that. And they'll read it to their younger siblings and they'll go over it over and over again. And that's what you want. Some you do want to put away for you. You don't want them to handle them. You don't want them to mess them up. You want them more for sentimental value. So this is just our basic. This is just Westward Expansion. Let's say if we just call this African Americans and Westward Expansion. I may have a nice, maybe I printed a picture off the internet of a black family, like a nice black and white photo during the Westward Expansion, and put it there, and then maybe a nice title here. And what I usually do, we usually glue it down, and then I'll cut right up, the middle, or you can just cut the picture and glue half on one side, half on the other, and then you have your completed lap book. So on this side, we just happen to have our vocabulary. We will have had our map here of Alabama. This is some compare and contrast, and this is our travel brochure. Very basic, okay? Nice, very basic lap book. The other thing you want to put, and it's so important, you always have the front part of the book, and every book has what's called the back matter. The back matter talks about the author. You always want your kids to write a little bit about themselves. You can get very creative. And you can have them maybe even you can incorporate some of your writing. And I've done that, and I'll show you a couple examples in a minute, where they talk about, maybe they do a fictitious story where, Alex was traveling, a first generation free slave. And he's traveling from wherever to wherever. And, and he's with his wife and his 2 children. And so you can maybe have them do a little story here and then a little photo, and you can get creative with the clothing. I'll show you. Let me do it now. I'm thinking about it. But this is the one we did on medieval times. Oh, my little door just fell there. We did medieval times, and and you always want to include a picture. And so this is Alex. He was a knight, and it's fun to dress them up. And definitely you want to have that picture on there, because all books have about authors. Or you could do something really simple, like, my favorite color, da-da-da-da. But this is about the author when we did medieval. But I'll read it just to kind of give you a feel of what we did. About the author, Alexander, age 5, hath compiled this book. He likes to dress up as a knight, although he is a page in training. In fact, he has spent more time pretending to be a knight than creating the contents of this book. Hence, why it is so scant. He is of the noble family of King Darrell and Queen Pamela of the Andrews. He resides in his family's manor with his elder brother, Sir Darrell, and his elder sister, Lady Sophia. This book was compiled November 9th in the year 2007. So it's just a really fun way. I wrote that, of course. But again, I included Alex, our little knight, in his book, and I'll show you that yeah, in a minute. Okay. Or you could do something very simple. This was Abby's first lap book. She's 5 now, but this was last year. We did a letter of the week. And this was a very, very, very simple lap book on the letter A. And because this was her first lap book, I saved it. And I just stuck worksheets in it, okay? Nothing major. No folds. She was only 4. No folds. But, and in the back, it just simply has her picture. And then we said, Abigail, age 4, favorite color, purple, favorite food, chicken noodle soup. When I grow up, I want to be a mermaid doctor. And this was October 2014. Okay, so that's really important because they're going to look back and you're going to look back and it's just going to be so nice to have that picture in that moment of time. So I think that's pretty much it. Let me just show some quick examples. How much time? Hopefully this video will upload like it's not going to be too long. You know what? I'm going to stop this and do another video with just some examples in case I'm not able to upload it because it's really long. So.